Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast, African Forward Podcast. Well, here we talk about Africa and stories that shaped our continent. This is the very first episode of African Forward Podcast. I welcome you all. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel, and to my regular ones, welcome back. Now, on today's episode, we talk about reggae music and how it's connected to Africa, or how reggae music is a product of Africa and how it found itself way back to its place of origin. I know you've probably heard some reggae music either in a public vehicle, your house, in weddings, reggae is known worldwide. Now, what if I tell you that the reggae you know is only half the story? There is a deeper, more thrilling truth hidden in the roots. So stay back to get the full story. Many of us know that reggae is Jamaican, which is right, but you don't know the other half of it. And to get the full story of reggae and to understand it, you have to take your mind way back to the transatlantic slave trade. This was a trading activity carried out between three continents, that is Europe, America, and Africa. The reason why it's called transatlantic is because it was mainly carried out on the Atlantic Ocean. But it also had another name, the triangular trade. And this is history. If you know, you know. If you don't, now you know. Now during those times, the British and Spanish captured Jamaica. And that was the year 1655. They wanted labor on the sugar plantations in Jamaica, so they resorted to Africa. We were considered very strong people, which is true, by the way. We are very, very strong people. Now, they brought millions and millions of enslaved Africans, majority being the West Africans, who are the Akon, the Igbo, and Yoruba, to work for them. The labor was hard. If you know the history well, you should know how back then Africans were treated. Too much work with little pay, or even sometimes they were never paid. The living conditions of Africans was not favorable. After some time, the colonizers decided to strip these people of their names, languages, and even families. But there's one thing they could not strip them. That is their rhythm. And they used the same rhythm for their benefit. The colonizers realized that while in Jamaica, the Africans used drumming as a form of long-distance communication system. To do what? To plot rebellions. In total fear, they decided to ban drumming. The planters were prohibited from drumming. They stole their heartbeat. Now, some enslaved Africans escaped into the mountainous interior of Jamaica and later became known as the Maroons. While in there, they planned guerrilla wars and fought the British Army and won their sovereignty. Still, in the mountains, they preserved pure West African spiritualities, military tactics, and their rhythmic foundations. They kept the drums alive in secret, establishing a sonic tradition of defiance. In 1920, a Jamaican-born visionary named Marcus Garvey, he launched the Universal Negro Improvement Association. He wasn't just a simple guy, he was very fierce, a Pan-Africanist who preached black self-reliance and global repatriation. He even launched the Black Star Line. This was a steamship corporation intended to facilitate the return of the African diaspora back to the motherland. But before leaving Jamaica for the US, he reportedly delivered a prophecy to his followers which said, "Look to Africa for the crowning of a black king, for he shall be the Redeemer." Things got real. The prophecy was being fulfilled. And on November 2nd, 1930, Rastafari Makonnen was crowned Emperor of Ethiopia. Garvey's prophecy came to pass. For the working class and the deeply religious Jamaicans who were suffering under the British colonial occupation, they had hopes in their hearts. For their leader Garvey, prophecy had finally happened. The poor Jamaicans looked at this undefeated black monarch and they realized they were no longer colonial subjects of the British king, but citizens of the Ethiopian Empire, ruled under the legendary Lion of the tribe of Judah, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Haile Selassie I. And that is how the Rastafarian movement was born. This is where things get even more interesting. In the 1940s and 1950s, the early Rastafarians retreated to the hills of Jamaica, setting up communal camps. And this is where everything began. They developed a very unique spiritual music called Nyabingi drumming. This word Nyabingi dates its origin from an East African anti-colonial resistance movement in Uganda and Rwanda, which was led by the legend Queen Hila Muhumusa, who fought against the British and German forces. But in Jamaica, Nyabingi spiritual gatherings involved chanting, smoking kaya, which many people know it as cannabis. It wasn't used as drugs or misused as some people perceive, but they used kaya as a holy sacrament for clarity. They also played 3 distinct drums, which were the thunder. This was a large slow drum that replicates the human heartbeat, and it represented the destruction of Babylon. The funde, a medium drum that maintains a steady, hypnotic, unbroken rhythm. It represented life and continuity. And the akete, a small, high-pitched drum used for syncopated improvisational solos. It represents the crying out of the soul for freedom. Now, reggae music did not just appear out of nowhere, but it grew from time to time from other musics. The rural Jamaicans migrated to the slums of Kingston like Trenchtown, and they brought these rhythms with them. And in over 2 decades, the music evolved. Right from Mento in 1940s, an acoustic Jamaican folk music which was heavily influenced by West African rhythms and acoustic instruments, to ska in 1960s, which was a fast, energetic horn-driven beat that reflected the optimism of Jamaica gaining independence from Britain in 1962. And this one took the classic American R&B but flipped it, putting the emphasis of the orbit to the rock steady, which has a very interesting story behind it, which goes like this. Now, in the period of 1966 to 1968, a very brutal heatwave hit Kingston in the summer, which made it too hot to dance to fast ska. So what did the musicians decide to do? They slowed the tempo down, broke the horns, and elevated the electric bass line. Interesting, right? Just how environment can affect music. And lastly, reggae. In 1968, the musicians slowed the beat down even further, introducing a scratching guitar style known as the skunk, and they let the bass line drive the entire melody. Now, you probably have heard the word shashamen and the return to Africa. This wasn't just a lyrical metaphor. It actually happened, and in 1948, Emperor Haile Selassie I set aside 500 acres of fertile land in Shashamane in Ethiopia as a gift to the African diaspora community in the West, who had supported Ethiopia during the Italian invasion in 1935. And by the 1970s, pioneering Rastafarians actually began physically packing up their lives in Jamaica, the UK and America to repatriate to Africa, building a permanent, thriving community in the heart of Ethiopia. And this is how reggae found its way back home, back to its motherland, Africa. But reggae, it's not just music. It brought people together and even brought a whole country together. But before we dive in into how reggae united saw a nation independent, we have to go way back in the 1970s, where young artists like Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and Bunny Wailer took the spiritual anti-colonial message of the rural Nyabingi camps and they blended it with the gritty urban reality of the Kingston slums. They became global icons, but they did not just sing about wealth or individual fame. They sang about Pan-African liberation. They went further and weaponized English, which they called it the language of the colonizers, by reinventing patois, a Jamaican Creole, and they even developed distinct linguistic concepts like Babylon, which symbolized the corrupt, oppressive Western capitalist and colonial system, to Zion, which meant Africa, especially Ethiopia, the spiritual and physical homeland, and the famous I and I phrase, which replaced you and I or me. This one signifies that the speaker and the divine, which they refer to him as Jah, are one, and that all human beings share a connected spiritual energy. Now, back to how reggae united an African nation and saw its independence. By late 1970s, the focus of the Pan-African struggle shifted to Southern Africa. In Rhodesia, a white minority colonial regime led by Ian Smith was locked in a bloody civil war against black liberation armies fighting for their land. Smith infamously boasted that black minority rule wouldn't happen in 1,000 years. Yeah, this is definitely giving Comrade Melosi vibes, yeah? My Kenyan high schoolers, we know that. I read that book while I was still in high school. It was called Fathers of Nations, and it had a character called Comrade Melosi. Yeah, that's a story for another day. Now, deep in the dense forest, facing starvation and death, the guerrilla fighters smuggled in cassette tapes of Bob Marley's 1979 album survival tracks like Africa Unite and Zimbabwe, which became the official psychological fuel for the revolution. They played them in the bush, drawing tactical inspiration from a Jamaican singer who was articulating the revelation even before it arrived. After the colonial regime finally cracked under the pressure of the liberation forces, the nation was reborn as Zimbabwe. For the official independence night on April 17, 1989, the newly elected government sent a desperate invitation to Bob Marley. They told him his music had won the war with them and begged him to headline the birth of the nation. But I wonder, even with a big invite to a global reggae star as Bob Marley, the new government had no money to pay him, leave alone fly his band or even rent a sound system. But Marley didn't care about a paycheck. He viewed the invitation as the highest honor of his existence. So what did he do instead? He dug into his own pocket and spent over $100,000 of his personal wealth to charter a Boeing 707, fly his crew to Africa and ship a massive multi-billionaire. I call it a multi-billionaire because this thing is very huge. He shipped a massive multi-ton sound system from London to Harare. And at midnight on April 17th in 1980, the Faro Stadium was a power cake. Inside were 40,000 international dignitaries, including Prince Charles, who is now King Charles III, and even foreign prime ministers. They all watched the Union Jack flag come down and the flag of Zimbabwe go up. And outside was even more intense. There were over 100,000 ordinary Zimbabweans and freedom fighters who had been locked out, surged against the iron gates. The local police, still using brutal colonial tactics, panicked and fired canisters of tear gas straight into the crowds. The thick, toxic smoke poured over the stadium walls, blinding the crowd and even choking the VIPs. International diplomats scrambled for their lives. On stage, the burning gas hit Marley's backing, the vocalists, the I3s, forcing them to flee backstage to breathe. Bob Marley did not run. Through the swirling into the white clouds of tear gas, Marley stood solitary at the microphone. He closed his eyes, gripped the stand and nodded to his bass player. Out of the chaos, a thunderous low-frequency bassline shattered the panic. Marley launched into Zimbabwe. Hearing his voice conquer the smoke, the R3s ran back onto the stage with cheers streaming down their faces to hit their harmonies. The crowd stabilized. Marley sang through the chemical haze, turning a chaotic stage ceremony into a defiant ritual of absolute freedom. Now, the next day, April 18th, Marley held a completely free concert for 80,000 everyday citizens who packed the stadium street, climbing to the stadium light towers to witness the music that sustained them through the darkness. Now, this story shows that reggae is not a musical genre, it is a spiritual timeline. The rhythm was stolen from West Africa in chains, kept alive in secret by the Maroons, weaponized ideologically by Marcus Garvey and the Rastafarians, then given physical soul in Shashamane and ultimately brought back to the African continent in 1980 to act as a musical midwife for the birth of a free Zimbabwe. The roots never left the soil. The music was simply the wind carrying the seed back home. This is African Forward Podcast. Subscribe for more interesting stories of the African continent.